Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy. Today I felt like we needed something more like a check-in, because what I was feeling into is sort of this background contemplation about how much you've actually progressed, how much you've shifted as a person, how you're seeing the world, how you're seeing yourself, how you are seeing how you're handling situations now compared to who you were not too long ago. And I'm also speaking to those of you who have really taken quite a big effort to, or rather let me say, been really intentional about becoming more open to a different way of approaching life, okay? Maybe for the first time, in terms of things you never thought you'd consider being interested in, or whatever it is, ways of seeing things. Someone who's become a lot more open to having their perspectives challenged, who is feeling like, whew, and I could do with a breather now though. I'm speaking to that person. You know, the way you're feeling is so valid. And not just that, it's as if I'm here to tell you that you're meant to feel this way, because sometimes you do need to pause on the work. Very much needing to pause on the work, not being too hard and rough on the consciousness, on the conscious. What do you call this? You know, rough on the mind, rough on the thinking work, rough on the contemplation, the work, to just take a breather. Because as we head into this full moon that's coming up, I believe it's on Sunday. That's why I'm using these moon cards. I've got a combination here of manifestation cards and moonology cards. I tend to use the lighter deck for the manifestation deck for new moon, and then the darker deck for full moon. That's just how I felt into the decks. I feel like you're going to be really shifting naturally, sort of settling into this new version, able to see yourself more clearly. And so this reading is really to take you through a sort of a glimpse of past, present, and future with some advice to allow this all to integrate, because I'm seeing so much progress. And not just, you know, I think there was a time maybe where we could take advice and just implement it and then carry on. But we're moving through a time where the kinds of changes you make to yourself and your perspective need to be so tailored to you as an individual, your past experiences, all of that stuff. I do feel like the time of generic advice is kind of falling away. Okay. And I see that in the growth of your sense of self-trust, even your openness to sort of even taking a break. Okay. I feel like you took a break in terms of, a step back from the usual way of working, the usual way of approaching your healing journey, whatever we want to call this, to wanting to actually get a grip, given that it's now become clear to you that no one's going to give you a manual for the future. No one's going to say, when this happens, do that. You know, it's very much, this journey is collective, but it feels so individual just because we all have different situations and contexts. In your past, I have full moon in Libra, find a balance. This is like you deciding how you're going to find a balance as you embark on this journey where, like I said, you don't have a manual in terms of what the future holds, walking into the unknown, but actually wanting so much more for yourself in your life. And also a sense of rejecting the past story Okay, so you actually set this intention that, okay, I'm actually going to find a balance. I'm actually going to embark on this journey. I believe in myself. I'm going to give it a shot. And even those of you who maybe were shaky in terms of whether you really believed in yourself or not, you were like, I'm already here. I might as well. And so you gave it a chance. Okay, I'm highlighting sort of like the intention that you set to be able to show you the result of that. What's come through here, okay, you're going to be realizing this, or you've already realized this. A lot of what I'm going to say actually has already been realized. I'll tell you why. But what came of that is an expansion in your appetite to release your own spirit. Okay, meditate and contemplate new moon in Pisces. To actually acknowledge to yourself that there is so much more to you than you realized in terms of, you know, we could call it your destiny or whatever, but I actually am talking about sort of your limits have grown. You used to have sort of limits in terms of what was possible for you as an individual. I'm seeing this very much in terms of your own capacity to grow. I'm speaking to some people here who maybe had placed limits on themselves. Like you see other people and you're like, I'm going to grow, but definitely not that much. Something like that. And what's opened up through this intention to sort of just try is a whole new horizon for yourself. You have sort of removed these limits, even though you don't know how far you're going to go and where you're going to go and what it's going to be like. You know there's something, you know there's growth, you know there's possibility. This has actually opened up your sense of possibility, which I think is amazing. Where you are right now, okay, this full moon in Sagittarius, see the bigger picture. This is very desert-like, this scenery. This is you sort of, what comes to mind is the idea of stockpiling. You know, when they tell you that you're going into a difficult period and you should stockpile groceries, tinned food, whatever. And I'm not scaring you at all, but where you are is like in a very energy saving mode. Okay. And also like energy saving, like keeping your energy, not worrying about things that you have no control over so much. Okay. And also not going on other people's rabbit holes around what things could be about, or, going on this roller coaster of speculation. This is showing up in many different ways for me. I'm trying to get a little bit more specific here. I'm talking about if something is presented to you and it doesn't make complete sense, you don't wreck your brain about it. That's actually you making this effort, and you're also trying to widen your perspective in terms of not judging the current appearance of your situation in a limited way. What I mean by this is not looking at, like, let's say, how things appear to you now and imposing the limits of that on your future, where you're going and the possibilities. And so you're sort of gathering your, I don't even know if I want to call it strength. You're setting an intention for yourself to not be short-sighted, to not limit yourself, and to not be convinced fully that where you are now is where you're always going to be and for a long time. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. There's also this sense of wanting to stay open so that you can receive information on what you should pursue and what you shouldn't pursue, and when and how. So you actually setting that intention to stay open, okay, so that you can grasp opportunities as they arise and not let them pass you by because of the fact that you couldn't see that this was possible for you. So do you see this opening I'm talking about in terms of possibilities? Your sense of possibility has really expanded. Okay, it has really expanded. I'm talking to someone who has shifted in the bigger picture, a short space of time. Okay? If you look at this hold your vision card, fixed moon, you can almost see half the moon. What's being revealed to you at this time is the results, the evidence. You can actually feel and see the results of this shift in yourself. What this has done is it's increased your sense of hope. Not just that, your sense of courage, that courage pays off, that openness pays off. You can hear 1,000 pieces of advice, but if you haven't lived through even an inch of evidence that this advice works, it can make you reluctant to try other advice, right? But this time you literally took a step back and you're like, I'm going to need to be more open. I might as well. And these are the results. I find myself really wanting to do this particular reading because I feel like during this sort of reflection time that I sense you're going through, this is a good time to really have this stuff integrate. And integration can mean what you were doing before, like deciding to be open and really like applying certain things or whatever. But here, it's more seeing clearly the evidence of your effort, the evidence of your openness, because once you've seen that evidence and seen the result, that's integration. And that means going forward, when you encounter any trouble or shakiness or you lose balance a little bit or whatever it is, you have past evidence to fall back on. And so then you don't need to regress to your past way of living and thinking, because you've elevated. You've elevated and you've changed your stance. How you move has changed. And this is clarified in have faith in your dreams, waxing crescent moon. This is literally having faith in your dreams. This is the opening up of your hope, your sense of hope and your possibility. In your future, what actually happened as I was shuffling for the present sort of column here, I, by mistake, pulled from the full moon deck and I got the answers you need are coming. I got this when I was still shuffling for full moon in Aquarius, be real. This card literally just popped out and I didn't know what to do with it, but I feel like there's a message in that. Some of these answers have already arrived. This is partly the evidence, the result in yourself, but it's also, you didn't expect these results so quickly. And what I want to confirm with that piece of information is this idea that the work is hard, that the work is difficult. Actually, I find that what is difficult, because yes, the experience is difficult. Okay, I'm not here to deny that. The experience is difficult because circumstances can be difficult. However, then circumstances are made even more difficult when there's no openness. And so we're now seeing that it's not the work that is difficult, it's the circumstances that are difficult. And the circumstances being made more difficult can sort of be healed by being open. And so then actually restoring peace in the present moment rather than increasing your own sense of suffering through not being open and prolonging the difficult circumstances. It can sometimes feel so difficult and so scary to become open when you've been disappointed so many times. Okay, but then that openness is like someone handing you like a jug of water when you've been walking in the desert so long, like cool water. It's like that. And so that water isn't going to make the climb less, high or difficult or whatever it is. But that water gives you relief and lets you know that what you need will find you as you walk, which reduces the strain of the climb being high and sometimes hard, right? It's all in your perspective. It's actually not all in the circumstances. And I remain respectful and cognizant of the fact that, we can never measure each other's circumstances against each other's, right? We can't. I have never lived your reality and you have never lived mine. However, I can say from my position where I am, and it's all relative. I have lived difficult circumstances. I have lived through a lot of uncertainty. That uncertainty is not gone, but my perspective that I had during the most difficult time, that is what is gone. And the sense of peace that I'm living with now, the sense of promise that I have now, the sense of self-empowerment is literally rooted in my perspective. And so many things open up with perspective. What I'm seeing is like someone trying to grow a plant. And let's say they feed it water, but they never give it sunshine. It's kind of like that, closed off because you really want to protect it, giving it everything you need, but too afraid to expose it. Or last time I exposed it, it died. Meanwhile, it didn't die because it was exposed. It died for maybe a different reason. And so you never really open up that plant, and then you sit and wonder why it's not growing. And then one day you actually give it some light and you continue to water it. And on top of those two ways of sort of feeding it, you don't stand there staring at it and casting all this negativity about what's happened in the past on it and speaking to it badly and all these things. You kind of just give it some sunlight, give it some water, and do some other stuff, because that's all you can actually give it. That's all it needs, and that's all you can give it. And the plant starts to thrive. In this future row, what I'm seeing with full moon in Aquarius, be real. Okay, this is an intention that is about to come up for you. What you're about to realize, and you're only able to actually set this intention coming up because, of what you've been through and what you've learned. And so you feel safe enough to actually have this realization and experience this perspective and be open to it. But what's about to happen, if it hasn't already happened for you, and please take this as it resonates, because I will not be the one to tell you everything about your life. But there's going to be this sort of realization that, this is about authenticity. Not just that you are not actually going to be able to realize all the things that you want. Okay, and I see this coming up in the advice as well, but you can't realize all the things that you want if you don't show up as yourself. As yourself. That is really getting real about what it is you want, really getting real about, like, irrespective of, let's say, how it's going to affect other people. You can make concessions on things and sometimes choose other people before you choose yourself. We still do that, right? We still do that in certain circumstances. That's a personal decision, and based on your personal circumstances and what you're weighing up, nothing is completely black and white. But you're going to get really true with yourself to realize that I'm going to have to be me. I'm going to have to acknowledge everything about myself, what I want, my true self, reveal that beyond what I've protected. Like, I've been protecting these aspects of myself, denying them. I'm going to have to bring these aspects of myself forward if they are also going to benefit from the stuff that I've been learning about how to do life. Okay, that's the intention you're going to be setting. And what this is going to reveal also sooner than you expected is more conclusions. Conclusions are within reach. This is going to be radical. I see it because it's also doubled with the answers you need are coming and this conclusions are within reach. It's going to be like, look at that Gemini card, how it's these twins. It's like two sides of a coin. It's like this particular one is going to reveal so much more to you in an instant. And a lot of the fruits of that, a lot of the results are also going to be revealed. It's going to be like you just went through an expansion and elevation. It's going to feel like that one expansion and elevation has just turned into like 3. That's how I'm seeing it. It's basically, I'm hearing exponential. I'm hearing exponential. I was trying to say expand. I was trying to say multiply, but it wasn't. It was actually showing me an exponent on the whatever it is. X was like to the exponent of, because the groundwork has been done. Okay, that's what I'm hearing, is that the groundwork has been done. And so once you acknowledge the true self, once you acknowledge the worthiness of the true self to be exposed and brought forward, I'm hearing this expo word coming out quite a lot, this root, expo, exponent, expose. It's coming out a lot here. Expand. It's like what does this mean? I just looked it up, and etymology, like that's like the study of words, I believe. You can sometimes assume that a prefix, being that first part of a word that sort of expands its meaning, that it is the same prefix for all these words. So I looked up expose, expand, exponent, all of these words, and it's the same. It's about X, which is about out. And so this is about you coming out, hence the authenticity. Because authenticity, this is like about authentic emergence. That is when the true self comes out. And what's happening here is that you've created this new way of seeing the world and seeing yourself. And so now you're really allowing your true self to emerge out of that. And that's like magic I'm seeing someone like abracadabra on whatever you do, on everything, because you were always the magic. And so now you're actually setting an intention, and you're going to have things revealed to you, because you are not only willing, you are open and hopeful about the result of emerging and allowing your true self to emerge, instead of protecting them because they're not safe, and because every time they come out, they get banged or beaten or offended or whatever. This is such deep levels of self-trust that you have now nurtured within yourself. Openness. This is amazing. In your advice, I was shuffling and this card flew out. It flew out and it came out upside down. It like wanted to be seen. It was like, please, I need you to see me. I need you to consider what I mean upright. I need you to consider what I mean upside down. All of these things. Okay. And what it says is, last quarter moon in Taurus, be proud of yourself. Okay. So they definitely want you to be proud of yourself and the work that you have put in. Okay. What they want you to consider here is areas where you might still limit yourself by being too proud. What that means, and it's revealed here in communication is key. What this means is, do not be afraid, especially with new moon in Gemini. They're saying, don't be afraid that, you have changed and therefore do not deserve and cannot ask for what you want. Okay, so like I'm talking to someone who's like, yeah, but yesterday I wanted X and now I've realized that I want Y. And so you're a bit shy to say you want Y. And they're saying that is going to limit you, because now your authentic self is going to become so aware of what you want, because you've opened that up, right? You've opened that up. And so they're saying, don't be proud, in the sense that, this is bringing up the idea of, forgiving the self and all of that. But it's actually like you're moving so quickly that you have become and are becoming all at the same time this new version of yourself that is authentic. And so you do not owe anything to your past version. You don't own it. You don't owe anything to your past version. And you can unlock new opportunities for yourself if you just communicate those things. Okay? The fact that you actually are privy to your past version and your new version, they're saying that that is more around like your versatility, that actually you're at an advantage as an individual because you're privy to both and because of your levels of self-awareness. And so this is not so much about explaining yourself as it is about taking advantage of the work that you've done on yourself. You're allowed to now benefit from this new version without being held back and held down by the old version. You don't owe the old version anything, and the old version of you doesn't owe anyone anything. Okay? Because the most valuable part of you is emerging, has emerged, and you're about to capitalize for yourself and make up up for lost time. These words were coming out. It's like they were there, but I had this there was a little bit of a block that was causing a repetition. Okay. So this what just happened now, all the stuttering, what it's actually saying to me is, this is going to feel like a little bit of an obstacle, which is also why you're getting this message, so that you're aware of what it may feel like to hesitate as you communicate this new version of you. But they're saying do it once, and you're not even gonna, they're saying try it once. Don't be too proud and because I think what's being said here is that you're a person with integrity. Number one, you're a person who stands by your word. These are virtues. Okay? These are virtues. Great. However, with all this integrity that you have grown and expanded as a person. It would lack integrity more if you sort of presented yourself as though you are still that past version and still communicating the way you used to, and still that's not being true to yourself. Okay, because integrity is very much about applying the truths that you know already and not ignoring part of the truth as you proceed. Very much about that. I was thinking a whole lot of things as I was shuffling, receiving information, but I asked for a last card to sort of close this reading off, and I got be bold and make the first move. Cardinal moon. My astrology knowledge, sometimes in some areas I don't know. So I looked up cardinal signs and what that meaning is, and it says, in astrology, cardinal signs are the initiators and idea people that kick off each season, embodying leadership, action, and new beginnings. And I did say, try it once. Try it once. This is confirmed by be bold and make the first move, because literally, I'm telling you, you are going to see so much change so fast, so much. Some of these readings feel like a challenge to me. As I share this, the whole time I'm out of the reading now, if you know what I mean. I'm now speaking as me. So thank you for that, Spirit. But the whole time that I've been doing this reading, and I do it every time I read, is I remove myself. I do this to be able to tune into the collective, and also to not hesitate as I see things and get afraid because it's about me. But I'm at this point, and it usually only arrives when I'm editing, okay? Because I actually do convince myself that I'm reading for the collective. And I'm at that point now where I'm like, you're going to need to take this advice too. I'm at that point. And sometimes that happens when you hear these types of things, and it feels like a challenge. But if it's landed on you as a challenge, I'd like you to remember that this is more looking into what's about to come up. And for me, it makes a lot of sense that I'd want my true self to emerge. But these things, the opportunities and the impulses and the feelings, they come up according to your readiness. And so this is not something you need to take on all at once. This is more like if you want to return to this and hear it once you realize, wait a minute, is that me considering bringing myself out? Okay, because also what's going to happen before that is you're going to see sort of the split between old you and new you. You're going to recognize that split. I see that very much in the Gemini cards. You're going to recognize that split, and then you're going to make a choice. You're going to kind of like choose real you, because past you can't get what new you wants. Okay? And so this is going to be done very much out of a desire and a need, not out of pressure. That's what I want. That's the point I wanted to make. We are still in Aquarius season. And so this is still the season of new ideas coming up. And so a lot of these things that I've been speaking about here in this reading are going to be playing out through this season. I'm going to list that 2026 energy reading that I did at the beginning of the year. I'm going to link it at the bottom of this if you want to hear it. And maybe, it's so good for integration. I think I've listened to it maybe every second week since. And it's been interesting just watching how these things play out. Really, it has. I feel like I'm also referencing the integration video I did for January to March. And so I'm going to link that in below as well. I really want to thank you for your openness. I really want to thank you for that. For so long, we've heard this thing about I don't chase, I attract, like this kind of way of living and all of that. I feel like we have literally witnessed complete shift in time where that's what we used to hear, and it sounded delusional, when you used to sort of hear it. But I feel like we're experiencing it right now where, in inverted commas, the work is actually not hard. It's not hard. And what it asks for is openness and rest, and to receive the information and not to search for the information, and to be at ease. It's amazing, to be honest. I just want to share something very brief and personal that I sort of, clocked today. But for a little bit now, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been thinking that I want to host like a physical sort of event here in Johannesburg. And I haven't quite known how to go about it. But I received the download for it between a nap, if you know what I mean. And so then I looked at it, and in that moment, I wrote everything down. And maybe 10 minutes after getting up from my nap, I looked and I was like, I can't believe you came up with all of that between a nap. Okay. And then I was like, okay, now what do I do with it? When do I do it? And I started going to that sort of typical masculine way of like wanting to take action and wanting all the other information to go with it. And then I reminded myself, just chill. You've written that down. Move on with your life, because you'll get the rest of the information as you need it. This thing bugs me now and again. And so I move on. There are so many aspects about it that still bug me, but I'm just going to, I move on. And this morning, as I was going about my stuff and doing this and that, I thought about this thing again, and I was like, when should I do it? And I literally heard 2 April. And then I Googled, I was like, where will the moon be 2 April? It says full moon. And I was like, yeah, but it's a Thursday. And then I see the next day is, I think it's Good Friday or something like that. And so that it's like perfect, because I don't know about you all, but here in South Africa, it's very hard to get people out for something, let's say on an evening, on a work night or a school night. So those are all the logistics I was thinking about. And again, I still have a lot of things I need to settle around that, but that's kind of what I mean. Sometimes we want the information and we want the detail and the instruction. And the point is, we want the detail because we're wanting to expand on the idea. We're not recognizing that we've already received an idea. Okay. And so allow the rest of the detail to be received just the way you received the idea. Many times I have pursued things, okay, ideas where I've got the original idea and I have, let me say, just use the word wasted. I've wasted so much time and effort doing all these things around it that I've decided with my head, that I've decided through my logical mind. And months later, when I look at the results of everything, of approaching life this way, of like just waiting to receive it, I realize that I'm still on the same initial idea, except all of the extras that go with it fit, and I just received them. And the time was wasted because of all the stuff that I added mentally and through logic. And so it's the long way round, but this is just to share with you to really trust that if you've got the initial idea, all the rest of the detail will land in its time. And again, you just sit back and relax and do what you enjoy, because that is where one should take action, is the things that you enjoy. Sending you so much love.